Good afternoon, folks. This is Fred Campos, owner of DFW Website Designers. It is May the 17th, 2021, and this is episode number 203 of your 3 business tips at 3 o'clock in and around 3 minutes. This week, we are talking about improving your personal skills. I'll have tips for you that focus on that. Today, we're going to talk about practicing. And under practicing, we're going to talk about learning and the difference between learning and practicing, dividing it into steps, and then focused repeat. When I was a kid, I took piano lessons. I took them for 8 years, wanting to learn how to play the piano. And I am not gifted in that. There are certain people that are gifted in doing so. And when you're gifted, you have this model I'm about to talk to you about doesn't quite fit. But in the case of a non-gifted person, you have to practice and get to a certain level. And the way I was taught to practice is I would take a piece of music and I would break it into little parts. And then I would even break it into measures and split the right hand from the left hand. And I would do the left hand part 5 times. I'd do the right hand part 5 times. I'd do just that measure together 5 times, really slow. Then I'd slowly speed it up to tempo. Then I would do the next measure, left hand, right hand together. Then those 2 measures together. Then I'd do the third measure, left hand, right hand together. And then those 3 together. We would go through this process. It was very tedious. I would practice about an hour a day, but through the course of a week, I would slowly work through all the little steps and I would learn a piece of music. And that's how I learned music, being a non-person that couldn't hear by ear or whatever. It was a very tedious process. Well, we're going to talk about that today. So let's talk that through. The first business tip we got to understand is the difference between learning versus practicing. Okay, my teacher would tell me about a piece of music, would play the music for me, tell me a little bit of the intricacies about it. That would be learning, but I don't actually get the skills for that until I practice it. I'll give you another example. Let's say you want to lose weight. You could read a diet book, and that would be the learning part of it, but changing your dietary habits would be the practice. I think at times we get learning and practice mixed up, so we need to distinguish that. You can learn about it, but you need to practice it. Business tip number 2, you got to divide it into little bitty steps, right? So in the case of the piano playing, I broke it down into measures, and then I broke it down into left hand, right hand, and I worked on one piece of it at a time, and then the other piece. So what are the steps of what you're trying to do in your skill sets? As a web developer, I might take steps to learn Photoshop better. As a salesperson, I might take steps in learning and practicing making cold calls or door-to-door or the sale technique. I might be learning different sales techniques and then putting them into practice. The point is, at this step, you got to divide it into little chunks. And third business tip is you got to focus and repeat just on that one element. Again, using the example of the piano, I would be focusing on one single measure with the right hand. I would do that a bunch of times in one single measure with the left hand and then put them both together and do it 5 times and just repeat the process. I think when we learn something, whether it be learning Spanish or learning sales techniques or learning accounting or learning Photoshop, we get too caught up in realizing that it needs to be broken down little steps and repeated. Very, very focused repeats. So that's my tips for you today. The difference between learning and practicing, dividing it into steps, and focus repeat. This is what I'm working on. Anything I'm working on, I always tell you guys because I want you to be awesome. Now go back to sleep.